comics as we usually do. We've added a sort of geekery into the subtext of the podcast because we all I think of the three of us always just chat other assorted nonsense that maybe doesn't fit into the standard beer and comics framework. So I in a bid to make sure my laptop doesn't crash on us like it has been in pre-show, have closed all the boxes, including the one that had my itinerary. So while I load that back up, and why don't you guys tell us what you're drinking? I want to go, but I'll send Shem. Good evening, welcome back to episode 169 of the Brewgooders, the beer, comics, and assorted geekery podcast. I'm Jeff. And I'm joined this week by Mr. Lagerlog Stu in the middle, and on the far right, but not a member as far as we know of the far right, is Mr. Andrew McGee. How are we doing, guys? We all right?
Yes.
Doing quite well as can be expected in this day and age.
Yeah. So take from that what you will. How are we? So we're going to chat through our beers. We're going to chat through our comics as we usually do. We've added a sort of geekery into the subtext of the podcast because we all I think of the three of us always just chat other assorted nonsense that maybe doesn't fit into the standard beer and comics framework. So I in a bid to make sure my laptop doesn't crash on us like it has been in pre-show, have closed all the boxes, including the one that had my itinerary. So while I load that back up, and why don't you guys tell us what you're drinking?
Andrew?
Okay. I am drinking, I actually can't even read it, it's called Chillax. And it's, I've gone the wrong way here. It's that cold press IPA. There we go.
Oh,
a cold
Williams
brew
Bros.
IPA. I'm not actually sure what a cold brew IPA is. I think all beer's brewed cold, but
yeah,
cold brewed. I'm just trying to show you what it's
not. I learned about this. I think I learned about this. It's to do with the carbonation. When I used to do that wee homebrew thing, they used to often talk about cold crash, which to my knowledge is when you I think it gets your beer quicker. Like the idea is that you can carbonate. Maybe you can bring the carbonation down really, really quickly, or something. I'll Google it, but I would be.
It says it's cold brewed to max out the contact time with the hops and amplify the aroma during fermentation.
Yeah.
Deliciously laid back, gluten-free IPA delivers chilled out vibes to the max. And I'm going to say, having not had a beer for various reasons for about 3 weeks, you can always tell a good IPA because it looks like piss. Cloudier the better, quite often with an IPA. It hits the spot for me. It's a very, very nice IPA indeed.
Awesome.
Good.
How did you come across that one? Was that out of a box in the shops?
It was out of a box. I'm still working through all my box beer. I did manage to get through online and cancel my subscription with the the box beer company that was sending me boxes. I had 3 boxes of beer in the shed, and I as you are well aware, a lot of beer around the place, as well as a fridge of beer down there. So I really was maxing out on how much beer I could store. I'm not sure how long it lasts. Like, I put all this beer on here, and then more beer arrives, and it's been there for maybe a year. So I'm thinking, how much longer do I have to read it? So it might be a case of we need to do like a small beer festival in my garden. And I'll just get them all out, and we can just try and clear them all out in one day. And then I can start from scratch again. I got given lots of beer over the last couple of weeks by people, including, I don't know if you can see this, but
that's a lot of Brewgooder beer.
Brewgooder, a wee Brewgooder beer box from a very good friend, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Who handed that into the shop for me, and then also somebody else who used to come in game gave me a case of beer as well. So I'm inundated with beer at the moment.
Awesome.
Hi, Neil.
Nice that folk did that. Hi, Neil. Yeah, long time no see. hiatus was long needed for a variety of reasons, and actually, I think even just the three of us became more necessary as the hiatus continued. So I think if we didn't take the hiatus, I think if we didn't take the hiatus when we did, it was coming a couple of weeks later anyway. So
I certainly wouldn't have been able to this last 2 or 3 weeks. Wouldn't have been for me. But I'm back now.
Yeah, it was. I think you would have noticed a definite dip in the quality of the podcast had we hadn't take a break. I'm glad we did. And I'm also, guys, can't thank you too enough for actually holding the fort for the week where I thought I only needed a week and then realised I needed like fucking 4.
that was a funny old week because I think we started quite awkwardly, me and Stuart, because we've never done a podcast just ourselves, and we're kind of, because you and before you Colin kind of ran the podcast and controlled the conversation. It was just us blethering, and we weren't sure how it was going to go. Because we're both a 2 or 3 beer podcast type of people, by 9ish or something like that, and we were on our 3rd beer, and we'd kicked back and took our shoes off, and we were just blethering a lot of horse. So it worked out pretty well. I think
it was a good show.
I enjoyed.
It was a really good show. I went through a period of just putting on shit to listen to in the background, and it definitely fit into that. For me, that was a really good show. It was a really, really interesting one. That was good. It's glad to see us back. So yeah, it's bro. I'm not gonna lie, I overdid it last night in terms of beer. I was in a couple of pubs. I went to Seven Kings for my dinner and had some neck oil, and then I had some Gammery in Monty's, which is a pub in Dunfermline that was doing a pub quiz. And I had a sore head this morning for the first time in a while. And I was like, oh, okay, may have ordered that. So I've got I didn't venture out that far and just grabbed a can of
I was going to say that. I was looking at the colours there and I was like, that looks a bit punk for me.
I was going to say, is it the Aldi knockoff? But no, it's the original.
I actually prefer the Aldi knockoff. Talking about the Aldi knockoff, it was my friend Tom's birthday last week. Tom's a drinking buddy of me and Andrew's. And he... I bought him because they had it for sale and I hadn't seen it for sale. In Aldi in Dunfermline, they were selling Yaldi, which was the
oh yeah.
You remember when there was some sort of feud happening between Brewdog and Aldi, supposedly. So I thought that was very strange that Aldi, because I think if memory serves, Aldi put out that anti-establishment IPA as their as their homebrewed version of Punk IPA. And my understanding of the story is that Brewdog got kind of pissed off of that, so they did a kind of Brewdog can that had the Aldi orange and dark blue colours on it and called it Give It Yaldi.
Yeah. Well, the pest. Well, yeah. Part of me thinks this was brewed up by the people in Brewdog and the people in Aldi's. This whole let's have a clever
marketing campaign
to try and market both of their beers, to try and make up for the fact that both of their beers are seen as being slightly. I don't know. I've not drank the Aldi's beer. I must admit. I should give it a go.
It's nice.
Yeah,
it's all right. It's as good as Brewdog. We talked about it on the show before. I can't remember.
Yeah, and I'm still boycotting Brewdog. Yeah. I didn't give things up, man. It's only been a year or so, and I'm like, I didn't give things up. Once I'm feuding, that's it. It's like feud.
And they're being particularly annoying at the moment, aren't they? Like with the whole Six Nations. And they keep touting like their own stout is better than Guinness, and it's just like, right, come on now, settle down.
Many large companies have tried to tout their stout as being better than Guinness.
Your stout, yeah.
That's a t-shirt.
Irish ones,
stout touter,
like Beamish and Murphy's and stuff like this, have come and gone and been seen off by Guinness. I'm fairly sure that they're more really terrified by Brewdog.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going into a pub in Dublin and asking for a pint of Brewdog stout? You'd get run out of town. You really would.
But they were doing that really.
Mate, I can give you 30-second head start.
Yeah, that's it. Aye, every man in the pub is going to get you.
But I think they've done that really wanky thing where they got the Guinness tour, but they were secretly filming it. And at the end of the tour, they poured one of their own drinks instead of the Guinness. And I was like, oh wow, this is so punk. I can't believe it.
Yeah, because they're so punk. They're middle class men now, and it's just like, honestly, get a beer.
My favourite. I was chatting to. I had a friend over, and we were chatting, and I'd mentioned to her about. We're talking because I've got a MasterChef cookbook in my kitchen just over there, and it's signed because I picked it up at the Good Food Show about 11 years ago, and I managed to get Greg and Greg Wallace to sign it, and the Australian guy whose name's just escaped me, but John Turode. So they signed it, and they were really sound. But Brewdog were there that year, and it was like 2008, 2009, just as they were becoming more established. They were there, and I went through a beer tasting with them, and they were obviously trying to hard sell the Equity for Punk scheme and stuff like that. So I was telling this story to my friend, and then she was saying, "Oh, like why are Brewdog so?" And I mentioned about going down to Harrogate with you guys and how like we as a group of Brewgooders at one point we were all sitting there in a Wetherspoons with a can of Brewdog or a pint of Blue Brewdog. And it was like we're just total double idiots now. We've completely sold out on all our morals. But she asked, she's like, "What was the issue?"
When we were in Wetherspoons, I wasn't drinking Brewdog. I
was drinking Planet Pale. I
was on Boom. I was drinking.
Yes, you were. I think Colin. I don't want to blaspheme, but I think Colin was maybe on Planet Pale as well. But that is nice.
If I'm feuding. I'm just going to say that. I'm not that guy to feud and then go into a pub and go pinty punk. Nobody can see me.
She asked me why Brewdog were so such a controversial brewery now, and I googled like their Wikipedia page just to try and like give it like a summation of or surmise what happened. And actually, even says on their on the introduction to their Wikipedia page, Brewdog have gained notoriety or some words to that effect for having quite aggressive capitalist sales techniques, despite claiming to be an anti-authoritative punk. I was like, that's quite funny. That's in their Wikipedia introduction.
So I don't think they can control it. I just still like them because I think the guy's a bit of a dick. I'm not even both of them. I think it's just one of them.
Yeah,
you know, there's the two guys that sing it.
Yeah. It's Watt. Is it James Watt, the second guy's name?
Yeah, not be. He's just a bit of a dick, and I feel a wee bit sorry for the other guy, and I certainly feel sorry for the people who buy into their every time they have their pyramid scheme, buy more shares and you get free drinks and shit like that. But yeah, he's just a bit of a dick.
It's like one pint on your birthday, isn't it? And you get reduced tickets to their AGM, which I think is just like a concert in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
That's
anyway,
it. That's
time over to Brewdog and know enough to Neil Bailey talking about Guinness.
Yeah. I will just say about Brewdog, like I do feel like a dick for drinking it, but it was also a gift from my 7-year-old who was in the pub the other day and was like, "Oh, you're in a second can." That's a good one as well.
Can I'm going to Stone's go-to IPA. You just can't see this guy, but this is so cold.
So yeah, Martin, talking about Guinness. Martin saying we'll always drink a Guinness for the Six Nations. #boycott Brewdog. And then Neil Bailey was saying, obviously we're in Scotland right now. Scotland's it's Six Nations fever's hitting. It's our Six Nations weekend coming up, and Scotland have got a chance to win the whole thing. Is that right? I'm not a rugby.
No, this weekend. If we can beat Ireland, we're in with a shout. Because we'll be one of 3 teams that have played 4 and won 3 if we can beat Ireland. But it's a very big if. Ireland are currently ranked number 1 in the world.
Yeah.
So.
That's in so Nielsen. I walked all the way through Temple Bar area in Dublin, walked into a pub and asked for a Guinness. Only it's the only pub in Ireland that doesn't sell Guinness. Every step possible, but not Guinness. That's actually a good marketing technique to be the only non-Guinness pub.
Yeah, it's probably a wee pint of Beamish.
Yeah, Beamish. I've drank Beamish is made down in Cork, and I've drank Beamish in a pub. You know, they say stout doesn't travel, and I've drank Beamish in a pub 150 yards away from the Beamish brewery. And Guinness is still better. Sorry, it just is.
I remember having Guinness when I was quite young and like sparing off it for decades, and then I can't remember what I was doing. I was best about I think during lockdown, and I grabbed a can of 4, and I was like, "Shit, this is a fucking quality beer, Guinness. It's Probably one of the better mass-produced beers in any supermarket.
It really is. If you have it cold enough, it is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And a decent pint of Guinness in a pub. I sometimes wonder when I'm out and I'm drinking, I decide to have Guinness because I vary it up a bit. And whenever I drink Guinness, I always wonder, why do I ever drink anything else?
Mm-hmm.
But then I wake up in the morning afterwards and realise why I drink lighter beers sometimes. It's havoc with your guts and head.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful, beautiful beer.
Mm-hmm. Stu, what are you drinking?
I am drinking. This is the first time I've tried one. It is a tin of Arbor Talus in Wonderland.
I love Arbor ales. And that's I bet that's amazing.
And it's the fact that it's like a 1 pint, can of that just filled the glass. It's actually quite a nice, lovely, like kind of citrus pale ale. I picked up in Dundee from Discovery Beers, and they had several of the Arbor beers. But I just took a random shot, and obviously, like the can art or the colouring with it being Talus and Wonderland goes with it, like the Cheshire Cat.
Cheshire Cat,
yeah,
nice.
It's quite clever. Quite enjoyed it.
I think is Talus the name of the hop?
It could be. The American hop Talus, accompanied by the wonderful Idaho 7.
They do Arbor ales are great, and actually they have like some of our statuses in the past as well, because we have drank them quite a lot on the show. They have a can like the same. So I think all their can art is it's horizontal lines with different colours. If memory serves, or with Arbor written the way it is, or similar to that theme. But they have one called My Little Sabrosi, and it's
that's like the rainbow coloured one, isn't it?
The rainbow one. That's a phenomenal beer. That's been one of my highlighted beers quite a few times on the show. That uses Sabro hops. So it's a really good brewery. But I quite like the idea of just building your beer around one hop. I know you get like mixed beers that'll like throw in 2 or 3 hops and try and breweries like Arbor and breweries like Salt do it as well, where they just like pick a hop and then that just becomes like the line.
Yeah. But no, quite enjoying it.
Nice.
I'll definitely try more of their stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up. I Google beer news quite a lot and see what comes up, and I just thought like funny things about beer. Just trying to mix up the fucking algorithm a little bit. One of my favorite stories of this week on doing that was from let's see if I can find it with the actual article. So there was a brewery in Australia called the brewery's called Your Mate's Brewing Company, which is a quality name for a brewing company anyway. But they do a watermelon sour beer, so Andrew will never drink it. But the reason why these guys were in the news this week internationally in the beer community is because they had to do a product recall because there was something they'd apparently put a batch of their beer through what they call a second fermentation, and therefore they were advertising a beer. So they'd sent out a bunch of beer that was overcarbonated and had a higher alcohol content than stated on the tin. I was like, that's absolutely amazing. You just drink this one can of beer thinking it's maybe 3 or 4%, and it's up in the 7s or 8s. You just be like,
you need to know these things.
Yes. Yeah. Getting hammered off what you think's a 4% watermelon sour.
Well, for a start, that's what you get for drinking a watermelon beer. It's just not natural, is it?
I think it's okay with sours and all. Like, I'm not a massive fan of sour beers. I do find one I'm like, that's incredible. Like Vault City's Iron Brew one is incredible. But I think if you've got the right beer style, fruit works really well.
Yeah, it's called cider.
Tractor juice, tractor wine,
tractor.
That's Neil said to try the.
Oh yeah,
the Guinness.
Again,
try Guinness.
It's a bit like
I've never had that before.
It's a bit like, I don't drink 10 anyway, as is well rectangled, but I definitely wouldn't drink 10 Super, or I do drink Carlsberg, but I wouldn't drink Carlsberg Special Brew, and I worry it's like that. I don't, we're going to take our beer and we're going to make it twice as strong. It just doesn't appeal to me. It just means I can drink half as much beer to get the same amount of drunk. And that way you end up, if you're having a wee night out, you would only end up out for 2 hours. And at 9 o'clock, you'd be like, taxi. So,
I did a night out in Glasgow a couple of weeks ago, and it ended up in a sort of stunty place that did cans of what's that? Is it Reds? What's the Red Star? Red Stripe. The cans of Red Stripe for £1.80. Just like glug 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 glug, and then you end up just drinking.
Is that strong beer as well? I know my friend. I know one of my friends.
I think it's about 5, but I think it's about 5.
Still quite strong. I mean, it's
not
massive, but it's a good 20% stronger than your average sort of beer.
Well, it's cheap as well. You're just like, I was just handing it back thinking, and actually they're not the pint cans. So I remember just hammered on like a tenner's worth of beer. So it's like, you're saying like, just getting drunk too quick. I also read a really cool article today by Uprocks, who are like one of these like lifestyle culture websites. I just wanted to ask you guys what you thought. They did the best to visit in 2023. What country do you think had more breweries, more cities in there that you should go and drink in? I thought it was interesting because it was 10. I can name 10 European countries, and there was maybe only about.
Repeat that question again.
Got to repeat the question a wee bit, mate. I think we lost you at a certain point.
No, it was 10. Sorry, it was 10. I didn't actually really ask a question. I just mumbled shit about Europe for about a minute there. So yeah, they mentioned 10 European cities that were like the best cities to go and drink beer in. What I thought was quite interesting is I can name 10 European countries off the top of my head quite easily. I could probably name most of the European cities, but of these 10 beer cities, there was like, actually was taken aback by the lack of diversification in country. So I was just going to ask you guys, where do you think these breweries were? If you were to
Germany and Austria. I think you'd have Berlin, maybe Prague, but Berlin, Frankfurt, Dortmund.
I used to sleep during geography, so I don't really know anywhere.
Just most of the best beer I think in the world comes from.
As soon as you said Germany, that sounded like
Germany. You said possibly Belgium. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah. So I thought it was quite interesting. The article was interesting because I think we were talking about the article was quite interesting. So I think we're talking about things like where like why you would go to that place to drink as well. But yeah, 4 of them were in 4 of those cities were in Germany of the 10 mentioned, and there weren't cities I never really thought about either. I'm trying to bring up the article.
Have you ever been to Germany?
The first city they said was I've not, but we always talk about it on the podcast.
It's amazing. I
want to get out there.
Yeah.
So they mentioned Rome. Rome came up.
Okay.
They mentioned Bamberg in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned Prague in the Czech Republic. They mentioned London as the only European city on the list. Cologne in Germany.
Hold on. Is the only Europeans or the only British city on the list, you mean?
The only British city in Europe on this list was London.
Okay.
Then they had, is it Plen or Zen? Plen in Czech Republic.
Don't know.
Then, I don't know. Then Brussels in Belgium. Then Leipzig in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dublin in Ireland. And then last but not least was Munich in Germany, which I want to go. So yeah, Munich is only 400. 2 of them.
See, Munich do a marvelous. I've not been to Munich, but they do a brilliant Oktoberfest apparently, and so that's a great place to go. I'm surprised Berlin didn't get in, but yeah, I would have said definitely Berlin.
I've got a friend Emma who
pubs, so I think it's a good drinking area, but it doesn't need. I don't think you get a lot of beers from Ireland. You get they're very similar to Scotland was in the sort of 70s, 80s. I think it was like they've got their lager, which is Harp. They've got their which is made by Guinness, I think. They've got Guinness, obviously.
Yeah.
They've got a dark beer called Smithwick's, which you used to be able to get in this country. It was called Kilkenny when it was branded through here, and it was actually really nice. And Caffrey's, but I'm not sure if they still make that. But yeah, I'm surprised Dublin made it onto the list. Like, say, for pubs and stuff, yes, but no for breweries and things.
Yeah, I think that was what the article was called. But the article, I'll put the link to it online. They often talk about like Italy. I don't think it's known for its breweries, but in Rome in particular isn't. But they were saying like in Rome's like because of its cafe culture is like a total perfect beer city because it's like you can drink and like people watch, and you can't really do that in some of these other places. What I thought was quite interesting about Munich being named is I've got a friend Eva who helped me do quite a lot of editing on the Brewgooder anthology. She did a lot of the formatting and the inside covers for us. But she's from that area, and you mentioned Oktoberfest. I was chatting to her in October last year, and she was talking about how fucking angry she gets because, like, she says Munich itself, Oktoberfest happens all over Bavaria, but Munich itself is like it's a bit like the Christmas market in Edinburgh that is to us. Whereas like folk travel all around the world to go to like one specific area, and she's like, no, Bavaria is the whole Bavaria, the whole Germany celebrates Oktoberfest, and actually, even if you just got the plane to Munich and then took a train to one of the nearby cities in that area, you would have a better Oktoberfest experience. It'd be cheaper, it would be less busy. You know what I mean? That she was kind of throwing those ideas out there. So I was like, yeah, definitely want to go to that area.
My brother's a big Germophile or Germanophile or something like that. And he was over there when he was in the RAF, and he speaks Germany, and I think he wants to retire there. And he swears by a place called Koblenz, which is I don't know if it's in Bavaria, but he's been to the thing is there, and he says it's a great place to go. So yeah, she's probably right. I wouldn't want to go to have something that the Germans hate, to go to the equivalent of the Princess Street German market. You want to go to something more traditional and more real. So
something authentic.
Yeah, totally.
We should go to Oktoberfest in Prague.
I forgot to say in September.
September. Make our own Oktoberfest. All you need is a pair of what do you call these things that they wear?
Oh, the Lederhosen.
Lederhosen. And I'm sure Germans think it's hilarious when foreign people show up in Lederhosen. I'm sure they love it. Yeah. It's like how Scottish people love it when foreigners cat about in kilts, cheap kilts and Jimmy hats with the hair.
I don't know. Like, I love it. I love seeing anyone in a kilt. It's just annoying when it, like you say, it's annoying when it's a Royal Mail £15 number. That's not really a kilt. It's more just a skirt that's been sold as a kilt to a tourist. Because actually, kilts are fucking quality. And actually, I'd swan around in one more often if I could get away with it. I think. Okay, so yeah, in it, please fire any beer comments, related comments. This will be on YouTube as well. That's why I've stuck the wee beer thing in the corner. There will just be a beer video on YouTube. That's just this section. So yeah, thank you if that's why you came here. I checked the algorithms. There's people, you can see wee spikes in our podcast if you look at our algorithm and when people tune in. So thank you for all the beer, guys. And get in touch if you've got a beer that you think we should check out.